Yo, we're gonna have a little fun here. Trying to get my guy Atron on board. Um, this is gonna be fun because talking about some artists that we've managed and dealt with in the past, and kind of like what's going on with them today and what's going on with us today, that kind of thing. Y'all ready for this? What's up, Brackart? Blah blah. What's up, Young T? Celestine? What up, Money Guy? Mr. Adam? One of my favorite West Siders, DZ the Mosties. What up, Ramos? Okay. We got a couple of folks in here tonight. I want to play a record called Show Is Hype because it always is a good song to break into. Well, I can't find it. And don't you love it when you can't find what you're looking for? Here we go. I think I can find it now. That's not it. What the hell? Let me go to where I'm gonna get paid for the record. You have to look for stuff and then YouTube be bullshitting. I actually have this in my catalog. What's happening, people? Again, I'm waiting on somebody really cool to come in here and join us. What do you mean? I don't have this in my library. For sure, I got this in my library. Library. Maybe we'll go this way with the search. Oh, maybe if I spelled it right, my computer wouldn't be acting so funny style towards the boy. Wait a minute, man. Wait a minute, man. What up, Steph? Oh, Mr. Gregory. I'm in here. Well, in the interim, I don't mind playing. Mr. Gregory. Look at that. Oh, no. Look at God. Mr. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I was trying to see if I could do it on my computer, but I guess I can't.
Live?
Oh, let's see. Let me turn my computer off. Can you hear me? What's going on?
Hey, man. Thanks for joining in.
Sure, man. Just like I said, just sitting in the office early Saturday morning. You know how we do it.
Listen, we all ain't able, The descendants of greatness, we finally made it. How you feeling about this? I won't go too deep into the poli side, but how you feeling about the election? I'm sure you've seen your fair share.
The election?
Yeah.
I guess I'm happy with it. I'm not the 20% that voted the other way. I'll tell you that.
If you have been,
it's choice. Whatever your choice is, your choice is.
Yeah.
Not choice, but I'm happy. I hope he doesn't try to pull a coup. That's a lot of people think that's a very real thing. I don't. I don't think. But there's a lot of stuff they can do. I don't know if you saw that Van Jones YouTube that's been floating around.
Because I haven't tried to populate my mind with the negative.
Yeah.
And like you said, that frequency of the coup and whatnot, I've seen that happen so often. Like it typically happens in Haiti and whatnot.
Right.
He could. Let's pray he don't.
Yeah, the streets will go crazy. That's for sure.
Indeed. And speaking of the streets,
Yes, sir.
I go, what does Atron Gregory know about Volume 10 and why? And then I was just like, it's been a never ending thing with me trying to just get a little dialogue with you. And then I was like, this is the perfect forum. Everybody uses this forum for goofy. Let me try to put some, a little twist of it and speak to somebody that, whether you know it or not, you've been a great mentor in terms of just walking in a direction for somebody I see as the success I would like to be.
Well, you far exceeded what I've done, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate that thought. But you walk in your own foot, you walk in your own shoes, man. And you're doing a great job. You're absolutely doing a great job.
Come on, man. That means the world to
Proud.
me. That means the world to me to hear that. That's almost like the endorsement a nigga needed. I feel like I can go do what I gotta go do.
Hey, man, you're doing it. Just keep doing it.
Yeah, man. I mean, so a couple of things before we talk about Tension, because that's his nickname for real. And I didn't give it to him.
Is it?
Yeah. How did you feel about the depiction of yourself in the movie?
Moderate. It was okay. They called me, or Keith called me one time and asked me about one specific thing that happened, and the way they depicted the things, they didn't really go down that way. But that's movies. I always call these movies Hollywood fiction based on historical fact. They have to do what they do the way they do it in order to get the type of story they want. So I don't fault anyone for any type of misrepresentation. I went to the premiere. I took my mom to see it. I really wanted to leave when I took my mom to see it, but I took my mom to see it, and I haven't looked at it since, and don't plan to. Nothing wrong. It's just I'm not, even when I do documentaries and stuff.
Yeah,
I save them on my DVR, but I never look at them. I just it's just not my thing to watch myself.
no, I mean, I get it. I felt like it kind of like hurt my heart. I wanted there to be more in the movie. That it hurt my heart because I felt like that corner could have been turned with a bit of conversation and communication between you and Pac. But in real life, did you feel like, man, was there a point? Obviously, there was a point where you threw your hands up. Was there a point where you felt like you could have turned it around with him and maybe stayed on the page? Because y'all have some great things going on, and it just felt like you were in a valley versus one of the peaks.
We weren't really in a valley. You got to think, when he was in Clinton Correctional Facility, he had the #1 record. We had sold 2 million records before he got out. So we weren't really in a valley. Emotional valley, yes.
Well, I mean, like the movie made it feel like there was no money for him.
There was money floating. I mean, but so, and I'm actually getting ready to do a documentary, or film a documentary for Alan Hughes this week that he's working on. But so the basic story and what happens when someone goes to jail, they are convicted. They're convicted, and they don't have bail. So all those people who think, oh, he went to jail and we couldn't bail him out, that's just false. I mean, if like logically, and I'm sure, and anyone in the streets knows, or anyone knows, if when you go to court and you get convicted, you go to jail, you don't get bail, right?
Right.
So
right.
So what we were working on was an appeal, and during the summer, the judges were on vacation, so they not all of them could get together at the same time to decide whether this appeal. One of the things you have to put in an appeal package is a bail package. So the money was in place. So we were just waiting for the appeal process to go through. Then some events transpired, some of which I figured out now but didn't know at the time, with timing, and probably Interscope knew around the same time that I knew when he was going to be released on bail pending appeal.
Mm.
Watani, who was my partner at the time with Pac, and I think one of the lawyers was literally at Dannemora the same time Suge and Kenner came. Out of just being nice, polite people that they are, they let Suge and Kenner go in first. The rest is kind of history.
Wow.
You know, but money was there. You know, we
And,
had lawyers.
and everybody, like, so that was a part of the movie. I'm glad you just mentioned and were able to speak about it, because a lot of people were like, well, you know, his manager, da, 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 da. And I'm like, nah, man, y'all don't get it. His management was Trump. Like, you know, it was actually super airtight. I'm gonna say, right.
Yeah, so you know, but I mean, it always, it doesn't bother me. It used to bother me, but it always just makes me thought. It's just interesting to me how people think someone can go to jail and then they can get bailed out. If that was the case, the jails wouldn't have anyone in them.
Right. No, I mean, like, 100%.
Yeah. So that's the basic story. I mean, there's a lot more detail, but that's the basic story.
Yeah, you can save it for the documentary vibes. You know, like, so for me, my big brother, Fade, was on some like, you better love Tupac. I was like, I don't really love Tupac, but I like this record, or I like that record. It wasn't like a bunch of songs from those original records that came out that I was just all about. I,
Mm-hmm.
I was in Volume 10 mind space at that time. So I was like, no, you
Sure.
Volume 10. He was like, no, you gotta love Tupac. And so we would argue this point. But what I did see, and coming from a long list of just watching managers kind of help their artists move and groove, what I saw was him being moved around properly, and the label was almost following your lead, you know?
Well, you know, Interscope was a new label at the time, so they didn't really
Right.
know a lot. Um, so I just went to Tom Wally. You know, Tom Wally came to me and said, "What? You know, I don't know what to do. What do we need to do?" So I came back with a list of things and a dollar amount, and he and took it to Tom. Tom went to Ted Fields and got the money.
Got it.
You know, allowed us to do what we needed to do in order to have the opportunity for success. And you can never take that away from the label. And just even early on, when the success was minimal, they're artist oriented label, and they didn't give up. They just kept pushing. You know, because you know a lot of labels, first single comes out as just doing okay, we're gonna walk. We're not gonna spend any more money. We spent enough money. You know, we sold 100,000 records. We got our money back between advance and whatever promotion. So we're just gonna walk. And you know, to Interscope's credit, they never ever ever walked on Tupac ever. That I'm familiar with.
Yeah, they absolutely locked down and didn't give up. And I was just like, you know, this cat has 9 lives and as many of those opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, make no mistake about it, I was able to now. So I was into weird things. Like I'll read low, you know, like all the album credits and everything. And so by the time Pac was coming, I already knew your name based off all the Tommy Boy records.
Right.
And
Right.
like I used to bother everybody. And finally, because this was before you and Fade knew one another,
Mm-hmm.
Doug, I would give the credits to Paul Stewart and Doug Young.
Doug Young, yes.
Doug used to tell me, man, you wish you could manage like and I wasn't a manager, like make no mistake about it. I had a guy named Daz that I was managing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he was not Daz from the Dog Pound yet.
Mm-hmm.
Doug used to try to check me on a regular, like, you little, you this shit, and da da da. And I was like, look, man, I'm not Atron Gregory, okay? Who I am going to be is A.Miller, because he would mess up and call me Atron.
Really? So I know about those conversations.
Yeah. But Doug, he's a wonderful spirit and always tried to keep me level and be like, you got to do it like this. versus like that. And the good thing is I had people around me that could tell me what was correct in making moves versus not. And in that era of the Tommy Boy stuff, I was saying I was following the fine print, looking at the producers, looking
Mm-hmm.
at looking at Fuse, looking at you, and saying to myself, like, man, you know, how do we get that popping in this and I think it was God, I'm not gonna say the year, but you guys like this never what I saw in your name was the consistency of never giving up on a single or an artist or a group.
Mm-hmm.
Groups did you have at the time of your peak? Artists were you managing? Because you was doing everybody's side bids.
Yeah, well, I was doing it was a combination because some I would manage and some I would have signed to my label, but other people manage, but they might be people that I knew really closely, brought someone that I like. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do label part, you do the management part. So kind of put them on also. And I would maybe a dozen, you know, at the time. You know, some never, I mean, you know how it is. Some never really get out the gate. Some hit a single, some home run,
Right.
you know.
What,
So
how did you call the label TNT?
I swear I don't remember.
You remember you did the logo?
Shock did the logo. Absolutely. I remember that.
When is the logo going to be readily available on T-shirts again?
All you got to do is go
Hey!
tnt/recordings.com. It's right there. And we're getting ready, and we're totally revamping the website and getting ready to do a whole different type of rollout and a bunch of stuff. Probably the first quarter, second quarter of next year, something like that.
So are you doing, I'm unfamiliar with the website, and for those that are unfamiliar, I'll pin it, and it's TNT Recording?
tnt-recordings.com.
Okay. What can we find on the site that we would be like, wow, that's on there?
I don't, you know, I haven't even looked at the site. I can tell you you know, just go look. But
You read
I mean, I approve everything, but you know, it's not like, you know, same thing with my documentaries. It's not like I look at this stuff all the time. But what I will tell you is come the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter of 2021, it's going to be a completely different site. We're revising it. There'll be a lot of stuff on there. There'll be stuff consistently going up. I have
TNT Atron, TNT-recordings with an S.com.
yes. So if you look around here, up here,
Are you in the
all that
garage?
stuff. Oh no, the garage is a whole nother thing. I haven't even taken
Dude,
you to the
I
garage.
was in the garage one time and I was like, oh, because I love stuff.
All that stuff is going to be up on the website. It's, you know, I have videos and I mean, everything's going to go up. You know, it'll take a while to get it up. It's not like it's all going to go up when it launches, but over, you know, weeks and months, everything will get up on the website.
I'm gonna have to come help you clean up.
Well,
I'm a tidy meister.
here's one thing I found recently.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it. It's the Trapped original single. It's not
That's
not a
the
pressing. It's a lacquer.
that's the acetate.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Have you been able to put anything up for auction? Has that been a thing for you?
I've thought about it. I mean, someone told me those things are worth a lot of money. I didn't know.
At the very least case scenario, you could potentially have the energy brought back around it for the, you know, just that's always it's never dull. If you got two of them, I might recommend you help the youth of tomorrow. No, I'm kidding.
Well, you know, I'm all good to give. You know, I am because you got to pay it for it.
Dude, you're one of the calmest. What sign are you, Adrian?
Aquarius.
Soul Aquarian.
Really?
I mean, that's what y'all call Soul Aquarians. I know quite a few. Dr. Dre, Q-Tip, Erykah Badu, Anderson .Paak.
Mm-hmm.
Aquarians. They all over the place in the business. I mean, you know, we got all our signs, but there's a specific sign that I really tend to connect with. And
Sure.
it has to be the mature version because everybody on the younger side of that, I'm like, it's like, okay, I gotta let y'all have it. But I was gonna say, Shock G was one of my favorite producers, and I don't like the West Coast East Coast thing. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I'm from the Midwest, from Ohio, but I grew up here. I grew up in the Bay Area.
Got it. So I I was born in St. Louis
Okay.
and raised in LA, and a lot of people like, oh, you forgot about da 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 da. And I can't. It was how I was raised, so I can't really forget that part. It's
Right.
my DNA. But watching Shock G and you operate, were you guys business partners or was it always artist and manager?
It was kind of. It was always kind of artist manager, but in some situations, business partners. It just depended upon what it was.
Got it. Got it. Like, and so how did you meet him?
I met him. So Rodney Franklin, who was a jazz keyboardist, was also my roommate um, back when we were teenagers, and he got a deal with Sony at like 17 years old. And, you know, back then they did promotional tours. And when they dropped the promotional tour, he needed a road manager. And,
Uh,
and so he comes to me and says, hey, I need a road manager. I'm like, what do you do? It's like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And we just rolled. So moving it forward, Rodney knew Jimmy Dwight, Chopmaster J. And at that time, Chopmaster J and Shock G were partners. So he went to Rodney and said, hey, you know, I have this group, Digital Underground. Can you help me? Rodney, you know, reached out for me. And then they came down on I think they might have taken a bus down to LA because I was living in LA at the time. And Shock and Jimmy and I had lunch at a Thai restaurant. And I think it was Van Noen and it was in North Hollywood, but it was on Van Noen.
oh, I met here in town.
Yeah, in North Hollywood, and that's where we met. They played me the music. They played me Underwater Rhymes, Your Life's a Cartoon,
Mm.
and I'm like, let's go. As soon as I heard those two, I'm like, let's go.
At the
Huh?
time, were you managing at that time?
I was road managing. I was road managing all the Ruthless acts at that time.
So you dealt with Jerry.
Yeah,
How was that?
it was great for me. You know, whatever.
Oh, hey, me.
So, so my foundation with Jerry, management was great. Whatever he did or didn't do,
Mm-hmm.
he taught. I can just say he taught me right. And maybe the reason he did that is because he would want me to go back to Easy and Dre and Q and whatever and say everything's cool. I don't know all the backstory stuff that I hear. I never experienced. Whether it's stuff in the movie that I mean, half that shit in that movie wasn't true either. But again, some of it was, and again, it was Hollywood fiction based on historical fact.
I was there the whole run from a different perspective. Obviously, I was a little younger when it was in its heyday,
Mm-hmm.
but on every occasion, I was able to communicate with Jerry. He was always a very careful, caring individual with me. And maybe it was because of how we connected to begin with or whatever. But he was never like the evil prime minister of the whole. Like I never got that out of Jerry. And there were some moments when I had some sidebars with individuals, and I was just like, why wouldn't you just talk to the guy and get your thing worked out? Like, I ain't get it, but for what it was worth, you're absolutely right. The
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood, and I got to give my boy props because he almost didn't do the movie.
Who?
Gary,
Oh, really?
yeah, he hit me with a script, and the script was like, I looked at the script, the first one, I was like, what is this? And it technically like, again, Doug called me and was like, dude, you already read that script. Look back on the scripts that I've given you. And he and Lee Savage were the original guys with the story. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't. And technically, Jerry Heller owned that script.
The Lee Savage script? Oh, really? I didn't
So
know that.
the lawsuit was incorrect. I won't talk about it too deeply, but Terry Heller runs the estate now.
Yeah.
For Jerry.
Okay.
And Terry was like, it was a dumb lawsuit. What they had the actual rights to was the screenplay, and they could have said that, and it would have been a whole different bag of tricks.
Because the lawsuit's been thrown out, right?
Yeah, it was tossed because it didn't have any merit. But the merit was based off of having had the original ownership of the screenplay, and they probably could have went after it that way. And he's done with it. He ain't tripping. As far as like for Darius thing, I just like to say that for the record, following in manager's footsteps, trying to do the job of a manager, and like this is why I wanted to have a little dialogue with you. Jerry did it as right as Jerry could, and he was parlaying from the rock and roll music business into hip hop that was not even a business as it started, but he was there at McCullough. He was there at the Exception. He was one of the guys that said no. On one note, maybe he did make everybody sign the 360 deals before they existed. But on another note, they could have went solo and did whatever they wanted to do anywhere else anyway and stayed in the group under those auspices.
Right.
And that was the thing I had to, it just was misconveyed because people talk outside of the loop and people come into the cipher, and instead of just working together, because Suge's smartest move would have been, yeah, I want to rock a career with Dre and I want to do this in-house.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have learned, I think he would have learned how to do things differently and therefore probably process them a different way.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, it didn't work out quite like that, but
yeah, things that, there's a movie that I always tout that, people may and may not know. It's called It's a Wonderful Life. It's back in the 40s or 50s or something with Jimmy Stewart. It's a Christmas movie. Comes on every Christmas Eve at 8:00.
Love that movie. Absolutely.
And you can turn left or right, and only thing it's going to be different. But you don't know what's going to happen. So, things happen when they happen. Dre's doing great. Cube's doing great.
Until they make one little left turn, I had a whole thing about it. Like, again, when you know too much and you really want to respect people, I'm not here to down anybody. I don't have any energy for that.
Right.
Well,
yeah. I mean, since the movie's come out since Straight Out, he's been doing great. I hear Ren doesn't like to travel that much, so I don't really, but I'm sure he's doing okay. I see him on Facebook sometimes. So.
The era that was, Easy always used to treat me with a lot of respect and kindness too. Like he was one of the G's that was like, he knew my cousin really well. So, what people don't realize is that in real life, people mimic other people too, as rappers and take their names. And my cousin was from East Coast. He was the Jerry Curl wearing in the back of the Impala rolling at 13 years old in Compton. That was my cousin Mo. A lot of people know my cousin to this day. And, oddly enough, he looks the same. I'm like, dude, aren't you like 50, 60 years old? And he's like, yeah, but, don't tell nobody. I know if they know you've been around all these old Negroes all this time. So let's get into the Volume 10 conversation.
Okay.
How did you get familiar with Volume 10? Please tell me that.
I don't remember, but I managed him for a little while. Did you know that?
Hell no. When?
It was when Pistol Grip Pump was out.
Really? Okay. So
did you produce that record?
Yeah.
That's funny.
But the thing was, so how did he meet Rhonda?
Was it?
Rhonda Dixon.
Maybe that's how I met him.
Through Rhonda.
Possibly.
100% had to be.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, I can't tell you who knew who, but I was at the Good Life 2 months.
Okay.
And at the Good Life, I was swinging in the dark. Volume was supposed to be in a group with Ganja K in the 11th hour. Like they were a group, but they were good with each other. And God rest Ganja K's love and spirit. But I did not know you managed 10.
I did for a period of time. He,
Uh-huh.
I mean, he was a nice guy, but he had something was going on with him. I don't know what it was, but traveling on the planes were rough for him.
He was addicted to whatever he was on, and nobody knew what he was on.
Even back then?
Yeah, exactly. The problem was the reason it imploded. Yeah, I don't know if you know this part. When he did his first promotional tour, I sent him out with Kelsey Maxwell. Because by that time, he was, I don't know if you were still managing him, were you?
So if he did a promo tour, I think I might have come in after his promo tour.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it was around Grip Pump, assuming it was around Pistol Grip Pump.
well, this was the promotional tour for the album being released, and Pistol Grip, obviously the thing. But it's hard to gauge it off of the timing of that song because that song still, you know, it ain't never way. But I didn't know you were managing him. And did you ever deal with Happy or Amanda?
I'm sure I did, but I'm not sure in what way.
So
But
that says a lot because at the point of him pushing the label and everybody away, he started with me. It was a big thing, point of contention because my friends were helping me move the dial with him, if nothing else. You know, they were my in-house guys. They were on the road with him and went on to do great things in the business. And my cousin Kelsey was one of the guys helping him. And then John Stockton, whom I got on at Def Jam, he went to have an illustrious career as a promotions guy. But they were on the road and I got a phone call and I'll never forget it. They were like, look, we are going to be coming home soon because Volume 10 does not want to do this anymore. And they were going through Cleveland, which, interestingly enough, gave him a key to the city.
wow.
And he wanted to leave because it was too cold and he couldn't handle it. He couldn't get his stuff on the road. Like he couldn't take his stuff with him on the flights and stuff. And back in that day, he actually could. He was just didn't have the money and the means to do it. Whatever his little fiefdom was of keeping him connected to his thing, he couldn't get it while he was traveling around. He didn't know how to make it work. And he messed up on the tour and we brought him off the tour because he said he wasn't being insured by the label. That was his excuse. And I told him, I was like, don't nobody got insurance by the label. And that kind of broke my heart that was the excuse that he used because we were starting to just get a little traction on a song that nobody cared about to begin with. And if you listen to the album, you'll realize like it sounds like one way and then it goes another. It doesn't sound it maybe disconjoined a little. And that's because the style of Pistol Grip Pump versus the other records.
Right.
That was our last record we recorded. And I was like,
how it works.
yeah, I do. And I try to tell artists, don't come to me with your EP, come to me with your album. And then don't tell me you're done. Know that when you're done with your album, that's probably when we just started.
Mm-hmm.
And it usually is the case. And Pistol Grip Pump was one of those starting factors where I took a step back because we had just had House of Pain in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Funk Dubious was in the marketplace. And Cypress. And then Volume. So we had like boom, 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 boom. And then Korn.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
We were kind of moving all over with that one. And I was like, my head was down. I was in the lab. I was busy trying to make sure that we laid everything out. And unlike Puff, I didn't realize I should probably take a step back, get the PR in front of me, and let the machine speak for itself. Nobody said that to me. So I was so busy being in the backdrop saying, "Oh, let me stay out the pictures. Let me get out the way."
Mm-hmm.
I would literally get shoved out of the way.
Right. Well,
Um,
difference between West Coast and East Coast too.
uh,
That's a difference. You're talking about Puffy? From,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, difference between West Coast and East Coast. East Coast, I found in my time, they were very supportive of each other. They would put each other on in a different way. Now everyone got a piece of everybody, which a lot of people don't know. But they would put each other on, and they teach each other how to deal with the record companies. We didn't have a lot of that. Everyone was really segregated, even though we might all been in LA together. There
Mm-hmm.
was still a lot of segregation. It wasn't like this.
It was like, what it was?
Huh?
I'm gonna put the definition to it since you just said it. It was East Coast versus West in the respect of how we all live. Like in New York, you live on top of each other. You putting each other on top of each other.
Right.
Like we had our own homes and separated. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
yeah, right. Okay, okay. And so with volume, he obviously that first album was all it was. It's all she wrote.
Sure.
And you know, he was like so dope that he knew it, that he was actually even doper than himself. Who else was like that in your world?
Well, I'll give you a story about Volume 10 because Tupac was doing really well at that time too. You may remember. Volume 10 had a show in Hollywood, and he went up on stage and smoked to smoke a joint. The promoter or club owner came to me and said he's got to put that out. We we can't have that here. So I go tell him to come here. Hey man, you have to put that out. He's like, okay. So he puts it out. He does it again. Lights a joint up again. I'm like, man, you can't do that. Club owner comes to me again. Same thing. Puts it out. Third time he comes up, same thing. Does it again. Club owner is pissed. So Volume does his show. It's over. We're outside talking, and he said, "I want to get arrested like Tupac because Tupac's huge, and it's because he goes to jail and he gets all this press." That's literally what he said to me, and I'm like, man, Tupac doesn't go to jail on purpose. It's not like he wants to go to jail. He goes to jail because of whatever the circumstances are at that moment, and it was a viewpoint that he had. It's kind of like you see something from the outside, and then you get a lot of press. Then you think, okay, I'll do this. I can do the same thing, and I'll get a lot of press. So the other thing people forget is, or at that time, Tupac was also in the movies. As you know, when you're on that big screen, you're literally larger than life, especially back then. And so, that press wasn't just because he was a recording artist. That
Right.
press was because Pac was also an actor in a successful movie, in a successful independent movie at that time.
Which one joint was it at the time?
It was Juice, the very first one.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect.
I mean, and look what Neil Moritz has done since then, right?
Wow. Do you still deal with him? You still talk to Neil?
I don't talk to Neil, but last time I called him was a few years ago. He called me right back. Maybe about 7, 8 years ago, he called me right back and just as genuine as ever, with me anyway.
I don't want to miss the fact that somebody just actually mentioned that he was an activist too. Obviously, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 10, it's amazing how the interpret of what the artists see. And again, that's what this was all about. And speaking to you, I appreciate you. I definitely have watched your career in terms of my perspective of your career. And a lot of what the artists do with one another is they have an underground railroad with each other, whether they do it or not. And one artist may not know another artist, but they look at that other artist's experience, but they don't know what it took that other artist to get there. And you
Right.
very interesting, which was Pac was actually an actor, guys. That's how he got out there, Volume. It wasn't being arrested. And artists tend to nowadays, and I have the most trouble. I see chaos in here. Artists tend to um, think one way, but and I'm like, I adore your precious artistic minds. We all are artists
Mm-hmm.
who have found a way to take your art and make it understood, heard, or seen like no one else. And so I respect that. But understand that there are people who their art is management,
Mm-hmm.
managers, and people who know how to communicate your language of art, because that's what management is. It's understanding the language and translating on behalf of you, because you should be focused on your art. You should be so lucky as to have someone who can be your right hand to
Absolutely.
your left mind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
um
I like that analogy. I like that one too.
I'm about 1,000. I'm feeling it. So the thing is, this myth of I don't need a campaign manager, I don't need a campaign machine. I disagree. I think that every artist deserves the opportunity when they're at a certain tier, of course. Be independent, understand what your independence is, know and discover that that's worth and valuable, but also know that you need a team. And
Mm-hmm.
with that, the label is important. With that, good management for your art is always going to be important. And and you can expound on this one with me if you want to jump right in, double dutch with me. I feel like artists tend to look at other artists and say, I don't need a manager, I don't need a label. And that myth has gotten us all the way messed up in this game with these young cats running around, especially in the Bay Area. Casuals in here too.
So the Bay Area is interesting. I'm back up here in the Bay Area, and I've been here for a long time now. And there's so much opportunity for these guys, and they're happy doing what they're doing. They're making a great living, going through Empire and all that. Some of these guys are making a very good living, but they could be making 10 times the amount of money they're making.
Right.
10 times the amount of exposure. But the whole concept of I can do it myself is where they're at, and that's fine. They're happy where they're at, but I just think they could be doing so much more. I have a project now that I'm producing. It's very different. It's not hip hop. It's not R&B. It's not rock. It's piano stuff. I have a marketing person. I
Mm-hmm.
have a PR person. I have someone that does my advertising on my social media. I have people that are dealing with the website. I mean, I have like 4, 5, 6 people on my team, and we're independent. And it's not something that I'm looking at is going to make me millions of dollars. It's something I enjoy doing. We will eventually make money. It's a slow roll. That COVID didn't help it.
You're one of the smartest artists. I will say that. And what you're doing is lightweight genius and couldn't have been better timed.
You know what I'm talking about then? The solo piano stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh yeah, I sent it to you. That's right. I've sent it to you.
when you send stuff to me, I'm like, oh, I got an email from Atron. Oh, let me check it. Off top, and congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
Let me guess, it's on tnt-recordings.com.
Yeah, but also they have me doing. They made me, and this is the other part. Listen to the people that know better than you. Just because I've done something, I've had success. There are people that know better than me, and as an artist, as you talk about the artists and they need a team, left to right, as you said earlier, they need to learn how to listen. Everyone has their opinion, but Adrian, you've done it multiple times over. You have a new artist that's just learning. They might want to listen to you. They might want to listen to what you say. So they told me I have to do a separate website for the solo piano group. So it went up about a month ago, or maybe even just 3 weeks ago. So now Solo Piano Group has its own website because I fought against it. I wanted it to go on TNT. They're
Right.
like, no, it has to have its own space. And I'm like, okay, if that's what you say, I'm relying on your expertise.
Website?
Huh?
Can you plug?
Solo Piano Group. It's solopianogroup.com.
Okay, I'm gonna tag that in a second.
Yeah, just and you know anytime I do any business,
Mhm.
I always look and make sure that the website's available first. So I've had the website for 2 years when
Oh,
I just had
you're
you
in
know,
Valley, man. I would imagine that would be one of the first things any and all people think in terms of IP up there.
yeah. And you know what's funny? My marketing person, I gave them my credentials, and they're like, "Dude, you got 50 different websites." I said, I think of ideas. I don't always put them in place, but
Wait a
I
minute.
want
I was
if I can.
I tried to shoot myself in the foot. My brother told me because he ran up to the Bay early on, and he goes, "You should just start buying URLs." I'm like, "A what?" He's like, "Just do this," and he showed me, and I had mp3.com.
Wow.
Did not do it, and the rest is history. Whatever. That was the only thing I ever had that I felt like I didn't get. Everything else I got. Zion
Hmm.
got that one. Zion.com.
Okay, you got that one.
Yeah, I was able to get XYION, which is 5 letters, and everybody was like, "How the hell did you get that?" And I was like, "I thought about it and did it. Didn't wait. Didn't
Yeah.
hesitate. Didn't flinch." Speaking of didn't flinch, was there an artist that you wanted to manage? And well, there's probably a lot of artists like I wanted to manage Michael Jackson, didn't do it. Meanwhile, no, was there an artist that you like on the verge of getting ready to work with and it didn't work out for whatever the reason that you were been interested in hanging with and maybe working with? Which
Hmm.
I could say this one got away, but which one would you say?
That got away. Um, I'll tell you, if I had an opportunity to manage who I would have loved to manage, because just it's my favorite group, is Earth, Wind, and Fire. But their tour manager, Perry White, taught me all about tour managing.
Oh wow, okay. So if Perry taught you about tour management,
And that was a long time ago, obviously.
who was the artist that I mean, who was the manager that gave you the most game about management?
I don't know. I think it was just a combination. I mean, obviously, Jerry gave me a lot. There's someone that I still do business with, Al Evers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he keeps me kind of on point. I talk to him almost every day because after X amount of years, you're not only have a business relationship, but you build these friendships, as you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
and I do a lot of reading. I still I still buy books on the music business. I mean, I listen to podcasts now. It's a new music business, and I'm still in it.
Yeah,
And
man.
I even have old stuff that I'm putting out. Um, and yeah, you just got to do your best to stay abreast. I mean, I really need to call and pick your brain because you're into the new music business, and I'm sure you understand it. Much
What
much better than I do.
it's
I mean, I don't understand it at all. I'm just trying to keep up as best I can.
listen, man. Whenever you the thought or whatever like hit me, what I try to do is what I learned from a few of my mentors, which is pick up the phone and call that person back. Don't let the day get away from you.
Yeah.
Without returning a call. Now, what he didn't know is that cell phones existed and people had speed dial. And it was harder. It's not 100 calls, Benny. It's thousands of calls a day that come in, and your number gets up on the website, and everybody think they can hit you, and you have direct access. It's like, I don't want to do that. But that,
Hmm.
that was Benny's biggest thing with me. Like, call everybody back during your
Who's that? Medina?
yeah, yeah. I had a chance to be inspired and work for him at Warner. So that was a good look. All right, man. I won't keep you, Atron. This was like,
It's been fun, man.
yeah, man. I really learned a lot. Oh, in closing, I was managing Demetrius Ship Jr.
Yes, I do. I remember that. Yeah.
And I think I may have even saw you at the premiere.
Yeah. Because you were also managing Chris Clark. I work with Stanley.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I hit Chris to get in this with us, but Meech, I told Meech, I said, look, bro, Pac was doing a lot in the acting world. I know you gotta believe me when I tell you that the spirits are pointing, and they, of all the people who wanted to play Tupac, it didn't quite work out for them. It
Mm-hmm.
actually worked out for you. So for that, it's almost like he's got the blessing. He hasn't had any funk with anybody about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the baton was passed, the torch was passed to him from the spirit of Pac to be an actor because he cannot rap.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, your influence is going to be incredible if you just stay on path. He's like, well, I guess the problem with that is that he really never had a relationship to Pac, but I
Right.
shared with him that you did, and there are a lot of other individuals that did. That would be a wise word, and so maybe one day I can put you guys on a conversation together.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was with him yesterday in the studio. Like, he loves music. He plays piano.
Oh,
He
really?
does. He's a pianist, and young, very young. But he's at least doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and he loves the music. And so I told him, I was like, "You're gonna be my Coach K. I'm gonna have your face out there promoting all the artists now."
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, Cairo Ade is one of the artists we're working on. But yeah, anytime we could talk new music business and new ways of doing it, I kind of like.
I appreciate that so much, man, because it's a whole nother world. People think it's easier. I don't think it's easier. I mean, it was record for the radio in the club. That's all it was. Back then. Now you got, you know, platforms all around the world.
Yeah,
You
you
still
got
got the radio. You still got the club. You don't have record stores as much, but in some parts of the world you do.
yeah, yeah.
And it's definitely.
Anytime, anyway, I'm always here for you, man. I appreciate.
Thank you, man.
Okay, and I'm gonna let you go, but with that, salon,
All right, blessings to you.
my man.
All right.
Wow, Atron Gregory, right? Everybody's like, if you didn't know who he was, he is the manager for Digital Underground, Shock G, Tupac Shakur, and somebody that I have cherished being able to learn from in the business of it all. I missed the point of telling him that I felt like I had Pac before he had the sound. Are you fucking with the hat? It says, "Make Crenshaw great again." Hold on. It's unfair. It's unfair. See, I'm not a complete idiot. I know something about imaging. Not much. I'm not going to sit here and brag to you like I know everything. Who is that? Moni? What up? Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I got this at Haroon, but it's actually Six Sev that did the hat. Um, and Pray for the Hood, and you know, Make Crenshaw Great Again is a whole campaign down in Lamert. How can you be managed by me? Send me some music. Let me hear it. Just drop it in here. If you want to get down, get on down. Send demos to info at Zion is XYION.com. Don't send them here necessarily. I'm gonna plug that right there for you, boy. Um, Rick, what you talking about, JJ Fad? What you know about JJ Fad? Mike Hill, I'm glad you rock with it. Um, thanks, Mitch. Atron is incredible. He's such good people. I So Smooth Seven, I did a record with him in Battle Cat, and shouts out to DJ Battle Cat. That's my G. Smooth had a real message in his music. He had really the dopest lyrics ever, and unfortunately never got a chance to really get his game out there the right way. But you know, life in the big city. Oh, Rick, that's how you met him? JJ fam, we here to rock. Da 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 da. Yo, Rick, you next. I need to get you on here. Why you bullshitting? Because we got to get these guys in order. I said something earlier about the campaign, and I'm going to say you really need a manager. You need your team, people who don't understand what a promotions person is. I'm gonna get one of the best ones. Rick, I'm coming for you, boy. And I want you to think about um, how life would be without your family, your friends, and people around you who care about you. I think that we start there, and then we operate into the business and also the rhetoric, politics, whatever. But would you like somebody to do you how you are paying it forward? And with that thought, process your day, stay equally blessed, and manifest destiny.